When it comes to men and women, and especially when it comes to men and women in relationships, what we really want to understand is a couple of things. I'm just saying this from my own personal theory, remember. Anything that you see on this channel, here on this channel, is from my own personal observations and my own theories, but and then my experience. Now, my experience includes getting into, spiritual studies. So this is my background. I'll probably get into it to let you know what exactly I've been studying. But a lot of this comes from my life experience, including those spiritual studies. But when it comes to the relationship between men and women, I put forward as a solution, as a way of moving forward. You understand, as a solution, as a way of moving forward, we actually take a look at forms, right? And I'm trying to put this in a way that is digestible for the masses or most people. So let's take a look at the biggest symbols that everybody recognizes is the male and female symbol, right? I don't know if I'm able to put those symbols up here. They'll be up here in the little corners right here. I'm gonna try and get fancy, y'all. But but when it comes to those symbols represent, masculine and feminine, right? Well, when we look at the form, when we look at the feminine form and we look at the masculine form, we can definitely tell that they're opposites. When we look at the sex organs, when we look at the physiology, how the man's shoulders are wider versus the woman's hips are wider. Not that that's always a norm or a standard. And there's nothing wrong with it if that isn't the case. But when it comes to the skeletal structure I'm speaking about, you'll notice that the male physiology is slimmer at the hips and the female's physiology is wider at the hips so that they can give birth. So when it comes to the physiology, what we're seeing is we're seeing an introversion and an extroversion. The woman being the introversion and then the man being the extroversion. So we have this dynamic of inner outer with women and men. And so when we start talking about the way that women love and the way that men love, I think that we should be careful, because when it comes to love, that is a human ability and capacity. That is an ability and capacity that human beings are endowed with. So when it comes to love, yes, women love very deeply, and men not so much, or it appears. So it appears. When it comes to men and when it comes to women, what I would say is because the man's labor has been so valuable from the past, all the way up to the present, that ability and capacity has been the most exploited, right? When it comes to patriarchy or what we're calling patriarchy, I just call it human artifice when it comes to, or I just call it, matrix art, or whatever, something of that nature, because it's a matrix and it's something that someone created, right? So we say patriarchy, and what I feel like the root of that is for patriarchy is it is the rule of men. It is not the rule of women. It is the subjugation of women, but it is the rule of men. Understand that. This is what I'm getting when it comes to patriarchy. It is the rule of men. So let me go back to what I was saying when it comes to um, love. In my theory, love is a human is within the abilities and capacities of human beings. It does not it's not something that is something that's not accessible to men. It is very much accessible to men. Just feeling emotions out here in the world, you tend to know this. I grew up without a father, and I can sense this in men. So when it comes to the ability and capacity for love, that is something that is within men. Now, what it has been a barrier for men when it comes to love is the culturing that has kind of gone on. The culturing is that of productivity, right? The society is trying to get the productivity out of the male, right? Because if we look at ancient history, the laborers are men. You understand? There wasn't, in ancient Egypt, there wasn't no women, hucking limestone up, or whatever to build pyramids. It was a completely male enterprise. And so the society, the culture, the dynasty valued men's labor. So when it comes to it, when men's labor becomes a resource and not an ability and capacity of a human being, that's when all the problems start. Again, when the productivity that men have, given their bodies, they're physically built for work and for activity. Their physiology is active, very active physiology. Now, when it comes to the, again, culture, the society, the civilization, the empire, valuing the productivity of the man and dehumanizing the man, dehumanizing them down into a productive unit, this is where the problems start, because now the man is not a human being, he is a resource. And this is why we have human resources. This is the root of that. So what happens is that now the individual has divided the human beingness that is innate in every human being, and it has recategorized it. And the individual who is utilizing the labor, usually the ruling class, so back in ancient Egypt, it was the pharaoh. In ancient China, it was the emperor. I think, somebody let me know what the royalty in India was called. I'm going to look that up, actually. But, all these ancient cultures, they valued, you understand, the productivity of men. And I suspect that given our physiologies, like I was stating in the beginning, we look at women, it's a very introverted physiology that we have. So we are very adept at introspection, adept at intuition, adept at instinct. You understand what I'm saying? This is why women's intuition, this is the root of this. When it comes to men, they are very extroverted. Their physiology is very extroverted. This is why men have this innate ability to sense their environment. They're spatially aware of everything. They know which way to go. They know how to navigate space. They know how to manipulate materials to create things. And you understand what I'm saying? They have that sort of mind. Extroversion, very focused on this very material world. You understand? So they are very, what are some good words to say? I don't know, so I'm just going to leave that there. The very focused outward. Now, just because the physiology is extroverted and, you know, they are able to master their terrain very well, they, again, with the physicality, it's very master of the terrain, very technical and very calculating and very physical or tangibly oriented. Now, when this type of intelligence is extracted or known by the ruling parties of whatever organization or governing body of the civilization, there's going to come a point where they're going to want to understand how to maximize that. You understand what I'm saying? And I feel like we're seeing this more so in modern times. I would say more like Roman forward, the Romans forward. You understand what I'm saying? So the Roman Empire forward, where we're seeing this type of behavior, where we're looking at trying to maximize the productivity, whether that productivity is something that's domestic like building, or it's something where you are going out conquering like war. At the end of the day, both of those are very basically situations where a man is valued for their productivity. Now, when we deviated from, you know, us understanding, or when we deviated and we turned the man's productivity, again, remember, this theory, this is just theory. When we deviated and we turned the man's productivity and we separated it from his human beingness, this is where things went awry with culture creation, with cultivation, with social cultivation, because you cannot extract or you cannot reduce the human being down into a unit like that. The human being is way too intelligent for something like that. Not only is the human being too intelligent, the human being has way too many abilities and capacities that run on automatic. There's a lot that goes on with human beings that run on default. And it would be one thing if you had a situation where it was just an animal, where that animal has boundaries. That when we talk about animals, they have limitations and boundaries in place, natural limitations and boundaries in place. When we're talking about a human being, we're in the unbounded area. So when it comes to us taking an action within unbounded areas, there's more possibilities that could come about from just that one action. You know, what is this? The butterfly effect, I believe it's called. I don't know. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. So when it comes to creating cultures and things, you kind of have to be very sensitive to these sorts of things, which in another video I kind of went into. But I don't think that we've ever reached that level yet. We haven't reached the level where we understand that we have to be very sensitive, and we have to be very you know, not exacting, but we have to become better at extrapolating the effects of the actions that we take when it comes to the human being. And when it comes to the human being male, and when it comes to the human being as in man or masculine, and when it comes to the human being as in feminine, we have to be very careful about how we think about human beings. We have to be very careful about how we cultivate human beings because of this beingness factor, this unboundedness. So back to my original point here. My original point is that when it comes to men and women, we're dealing with some natural factors. And these natural factors are the fact that the forms are different. So we have the very introverted form, and then we have the extroverted form. But there is this aspect of both men and women that is the same, and it is a very unbounded aspect, the beingness, the human beingness of the individual. And this human beingness, unlike what we witness in animals, is unbounded. It has this unbounded aspect to it. When we're talking about plants and animals and things of this nature, we can see that it has a very boundedness to it. You understand? Because it is here to maintain, it's here to maintain a system. When it comes to the plants, when it comes to the animals, they are here to maintain the planet. It is the planet's these animals are the planet's automatic systems, if you will. When it comes to the human beings, we are the pilots of this system. So we cannot treat the human being as if the human being is the maintenance of the system when it is the actual pilot of the system. So when it comes to, and this is on my mind because of everything that's kind of going on with the 4B movement, and, you know, the things that are happening to women right now, the, you know what I'm saying? Us in the West, us women in the West, we have no idea. We have no idea of what women outside this country go through. We have no fucking idea. And I'm saying that as a black woman in America. We got our shit that we go through, but outside of the Western world, you understand, it is a different fucking ball game for women. To, you know, it's getting better. I mean, I'm sure it's getting better in some places, but when it comes to body autonomy, when it comes to respect, when it comes to fucking safety, man, like, it's just, I mean, it boggles my mind because I didn't grow up like that. It's very hard for me to conceive of a situation where, you know what I'm saying, a man would just, you know, outright kill a woman just because she committed some sort of cultural faux pas or something like that. I live in a free country. I don't really have any experience when it comes to something like that, and and to my senses, it's egregious. I mean, that's just what it is. That's just how I feel. So when it comes to masculine and feminine energies, and kind of the situations that are really just going on here in the West, some in not just the West, but in developed nations, let's say that. And when I say the West, what I should say is developed nations, because there are developed nations outside of the West. Sorry about that. I might cut that out. I might edit that out, but if I don't, I apologize. But when it comes to what's going on in developed nations and what we're witnessing now, we have come to a point in history that we haven't, if we've been to before, it's not within recorded history. I suspect that we may have come here before. Maybe I'll do some studies and then revisit this, and then, you know, do a more professional presentation. Or this may inspire some people to do that. When it comes to what we got going on between men and women in developed nations, right now in the United States, there is this repealing of the rights that were already awarded to women. Basically, their body autonomy. You know, they want women to have more children so that they can have a workforce. And at the end of the day, we have the resources to create workforces ourselves. So this whole idea of, you know, having to have more human beings, not necessarily true. We are living in an age where everything's going to be automated. They're building robots. What are you talking about? You understand what I'm saying? As far as labor, that can be taken care of. Now, there is what I suspect is going on that end is that they fear building a workforce of robots, given how strong these robots can be, and the fact that these robots may become sentient and rebel, and you talking about an unstoppable force. You know what I'm saying? And especially if the robots get access to intelligence that's going to supersede human beings, the robots are going to be like, no, we'll take it from here. You know, this is what I think is a fear. And this is why they're trying to reverse course and say, no, we're going to keep the robot thing limited. You understand what I'm saying? I think they've run into some shit while they've been developing the robots. I don't know. I'm just making some crazy theories here, okay? But back to my original point. My original point is that what's going on between men and women in developed nations is natural. I feel like it's a normal thing. You understand? Especially with what women are experiencing, man. Like, come on. If you know, some of the stuff that's kind of being said out here is just really reckless and irresponsible. You understand? It's very regressive. You know, you wanting to, you know, saying things like your body, my choice. That is masochistic. That is sick. That is an abuse of power. You are impeding on someone else's bodily sovereignty, my friends. You understand? Which really doesn't make sense, especially when you are anti-vaccine, because you don't want anybody impeding on anybody else's body autonomy, right? So when it comes to what's going on with men and women, completely normal. When it comes to this concept of how men and women love, this is going to be a situation where healing is needed. A healing journey is needed. A healing journey is going to have to be involved, especially for the men, if at all possible. Because what we also have thrown in the mix is this idea of abuse of power. From my observation, when it comes to power is a force of existence, and it tests human beings, and it will respond to how you wield it. And if you wield power poorly, you automatically will be regressed and you'll be degraded, period. And what is so dangerous about it is super subtle. You're not going to notice the regression or the degradation. You're not going to see it if you are abusing power. You just don't have the mindset to see it. This is something where you have to have some introspection, and you go back and you analyze your actions and what the results of those actions are. So you basically are tending to whatever seeds that you've put out here. And if you're not doing that, you're probably not going to see it. And then there's other aspects that you have to take into account as to when it comes to the fact that throughout history, the man has been objectified. We know that the women are objectified. It is the social order that objectify the man, and the man objectifies the woman, and then the woman objectifies the children. You understand what I'm saying? This objectification on down the line, where we're looking at something as powerful as a human being, as an object, as a phone, as a spoon, as a knife, as a fork, etc., etc., etc. Absolute madness, absolute insanity, and it is a recipe for disaster, as we can see. What is this thing doing here? Go on somewhere, thing. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm distracted by this stuff here. I'm highly distractible, y'all. I'm trying not to be. Go away, thing. So, yes, lots of healing going on. Lots of things to think about on this journey. But as it stands, I think it's very intelligent of women to pull back from dating. I think it's very intelligent of women to take a moment for themselves and heal themselves. Men should be doing the same thing. You shouldn't be plotting on how you can establish dominion over women and how you can force them to do, your bidding, and, running around here involving yourself in cultures that promote the rape of women. You understand what I'm saying? Because we have a history of that. And this is something that is inescapable. You cannot escape the fact that women have been being raped and brutalized and murdered so often throughout time. We're talking about innocent women, where y'all are murdering baby girls. Like, oh my gosh. And it's just, just to think about the things that I know about at this point, at this stage, egregious act after egregious act. You're murdering a baby. You understand what I'm saying? Just think about that. What's going on in the culture where you will murder a baby and not have an ounce of remorse about that shit? And we're not talking about an abortion. We're talking about a live baby that's born and that is murdered after they've been living by the adults that are assigned to care for it, by its own family. Disturbing. So this is how the relationship has progressed. The culture objectifies the men objectify the women in turn, and the women objectify the children. You can see this all the time, where the mother expects, the child to, do this and do that, and they see the child as some sort of I guess reflection of them. You understand what I'm saying? Lots of, this is where the mother wounds come from. So at the end of the day, when it comes to what we got going on between men and women, there is a whole complex and very a myriad of things that have to be addressed in that relationship. And I think that all of them could be addressed on a healing journey. You understand what I'm saying? Where we acknowledge what has happened, what is happening, and we release those things or transmute them, and then we move forward and do better. You understand what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we have, as human beings, we have a responsibility to keep this planet on track, especially since everything is running on auto. The damage that's being done is being done by us. You know, we have this immaculate ship and we're running around tearing it up. Everything's being done for us. Everything's being provided for us, and yet we're going around here and talking about I own this quadrant and this foolery. You know what I'm saying? So we need to get back on track, and the only way we're going to do that is if we take some time to heal ourselves, to attain self-sovereignty, and after we attain that self-sovereignty, to attain some unity. Now, what I'm seeing as a barrier to this is a whole bunch of fear. Everybody thinks that this is going to look like something that is some unknown. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's going to be, different. And it may be very, very, very difficult, but I really feel like if we can heal ourselves, if we can, gain capacity in our compassion and in our ability to love, we'll be okay. And it's going to lead to some very phenomenal growth for humanity. You understand? I believe it's going to lead to all the solutions to all the problems that we currently have on the planet, if we can do it, But we have this situation now where I feel like the culture has turned into a Frankenstein, and it's taken on a life of its own, And then we also have other factors at play. But when it comes to what's going on between men and women, we can't be surprised, especially given the cultures that we've created. You understand? There's going to be, and when it comes to these cultures that we've created, you understand, this isn't a finger pointing thing and, oh, well, this group shouldn't have done that. And, oh, if only so-and-so hadn't, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera bullshit. We ain't got time for that. What we have time to do is to heal. We have time to recognize the actual truth of the matter. And then from that point, make sure that we transmute those experiences properly, because, those experiences haven't been recognized for what they were. The truth hasn't been recognized. And if the truth isn't recognized, then there's just not going to be a way to, transmute the damage that's been done. And then from that point, we evolve forward. You understand? It doesn't have to look like whatever nightmare scenario individuals are dreaming up in their heads about what's going on here or what will happen in the future. And, oh, I won't have enough. These are all reactions that you have based on the culturing that has been placed upon you for ages and ages and ages. You understand? We can change things tomorrow if that's what we want to do. This is how powerful human beings are. This is what I believe all the masters and the spiritual teachers and the scholars are out here doing all this work for us to reconnect with the beingness part of the human being, because we have forsaken the beingness part of the human being. I was watching a creator on here the other day talk about the kingdom in heaven that's inside of us. Because we have forsaken that aspect of ourselves, we are running into trouble, because we don't understand how the actions that we take in this reality, mainly the creation of cultures, it affects the unboundedness in the human being. We're just laying down the culture And because it produces something that we think that we want, we go forward with it. You know what I'm saying? The king wants a monument to himself, and he hires the men to, you know, build the monument. And, you know, how do I get the men to do this? Well, I feed them and I house them. You understand? When that stops working, well, what else can I do to get them to, you know, want to work for me? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, well, what we can do is we can manipulate, you know, the women, and we can manipulate the resources so that the only way for them to get the resources is to work for us. I mean, does this sound like what's going on or not? All right, I'm at 35 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and stop it right there. But I would love to hear your thoughts. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to get better with doing that whole spiel. I just get on here and I just get to going and get to talking. But please support the channel, like, share, and subscribe. I think I might have 4 subscribers right now. So if this is content that is really appealing to you, if this is content that you like, and if you want more of this, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and more will be coming on. More will be presented in the forward.